what defines my whole life is the little choice. I'm not a victim. I'm a fighter. I keep going no matter what. I will never quit. I will never give up. And I refuse to feel sorry for myself.
Welcome to this episode of Scaling Life. And today I have Sandra Lyng. She's an extremely great entrepreneur. There is so much inspiration with having conversation with Sandra, and also how much she do to really get to the next level in life. So welcome, Sandra.
Thank you so much.
So the first thing I want to ask about, when was the first time in life that you understood that you had an entrepreneur mindset? Or when did it come up that you can start to make your own money? How old was you then and what did you do?
I started very young. So I started selling things outside my house. Next to where I grew up, they have this, it's a beach, like a place where people come to lay on the beach and swim. It's like a bathing place. I don't know what you call it. The whole town is gathering there in the summertime. And I'm like, why aren't people selling ice cream here? I think I was around 12. Everybody wants ice cream. It's hot out there, and drinks too. So what I did, I bought cheap ice cream from the ice cream truck, because then you get like a huge container with small ice cream, and I sold it for full price. I rented a big ice box and had ice cream in it and sold it. That was my first like shop that I had. It went very well. And I guess when I was around 10, I started picking strawberries. I did that for a few summers. And what I realized, I haven't thought about this, but what I realized is if I buy the strawberries I pick, I will earn more money and selling them myself. Because it's one thing to earn a little bit of money and to sell them in stores. But what I did is that I bought the strawberries myself after I also got paid for picking them. And then I went around ringing doorbells and sold them for a much higher price than you would in the stores.
I think this is so interesting because every time I talk with entrepreneurs, they kind of have similar stories that they started in young age and they start to do stuff. I'm grown up near Ullevål Stadion, which is the national football stadium in Norway. And what I did was under the cup final, I brought with my barbecue from my parents and I stand outside there and start to sell hot dogs. Do you think it's like, is this something that someone taught you, or is it just a natural gene inside you that you start to think about that in young age? Was there any parents, was there any around you that kind of pushed you to start to think about how you can make your own money, or is it just like a gene inside you?
I got a little allowance each week and I thought it was too little. So I had to be creative. No, I haven't learned it from anyone. I don't know where all this come from. And they call me a little bit of a black sheep in the family because I guess I'm different in the way I think and what I do than my family.
So what do you say different? What do you feel is different from you, from the rest of your family or the rest of the people around you and where you grew up?
I think that they are very happy and comfortable by doing the steps that like you're supposed to do. With you go to school, then you pick an arrow what you want to study, and then you work what you studied, and you do that until you're retired. I just was 3 months we call it videregående, I think it's college, and I always been working for myself. I had my own company since I was 16 years old, always been working. So next to school, like, for example, when I was 15 years old, I worked at a gas station at night selling hot dogs. I worked at a kindergarten after school, and I worked there in the weekends. I worked at a cafe. I don't know why. I just always had this. I want to work. I want to have different experiences, and I want to earn my own money in my own way. And so I think the difference is probably that I'm not happy inside the box. I wish I was. I think that, the entrepreneur life is not always easy. You have to you have to deal with some hard emotions, and you have people who rely on you, and the risk is big. Sometimes I wish I was just, why can't I have just a job that I enjoy and that I know what income would be, that is safe, but it's not meant for me.
So when was the first time in life that you felt people was jealous, or you're too crazy, or because this is what I heard all my life, Patrick, you're too crazy. And I think every entrepreneur I talk with, you get like, oh, you're too crazy. You're not living the normal life that you should do, because what you think about is not reality.
Well, I wasn't afraid to put myself out there. I started in a new school because we moved to the countryside in second grade. So I came in a class there, and there were very few people because this was in the countryside, and I came from the town. That was the first time I saw that you're not supposed to think you are something. That was something I heard again and again. And you think you are so great. You think you can sing, all of those things, because I have always had a huge passion for music and to write songs and to sing. And when I joined the choir and got, hi, I want to be a vocalist, I want to sing in front of the choir. And I did that almost the first day I started school, and I was performing in front of the class. I get a little lightheaded just thinking about it. We had a huge arena in 17 Mai, and when it's like Christmas, when you're supposed to go home for Christmas vacation, you have this concert to say bye, and people are invited and the parents are invited, and I wanted to sing like solo songs. And when I did that, the whole class boycotted me when I sang. They made noise with their chairs while I started singing, and went out of the hall where I was singing, and then came in after I was singing. I got so sad because I thought the reason was that they hated me, and that I was trash, that I was unworthy. What I realized later is that, okay, it's because I put my nose out there. It's because I was a front figure. I was the person who wanted to sit in the front of the class, and got friends with the teacher because I loved learning. And sometimes I thought they were easier to talk to and communicate with grown-up people because they had smart things to say, if it makes sense. So I was probably the annoying kid. But then that was probably the first time. If I'm going to look back, I didn't know then that it was jealousy, or maybe I was just annoying, but I think that was jealousy when I look back on it. But at the time I didn't know, and I got really hurt. So when was the time you experienced it for the first time? Do you have like this moment?
I don't know if I have a moment, but I always know that I've been called crazy. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm thinking different, that everyone else is accepted. I know my father, this is all later in my life, but for some years ago, my company went bankrupt, and I remember I need to lend some money from my father because I didn't have any money. He said, I will give you this money, but this one thing that you need to promise me is never be an entrepreneur again. And that was like sticking a knife and just drag it around. And I said to my father immediately, because on that time, I was a little bit insecure if I am an entrepreneur, or, this was after I've been running companies for 20 years, and then I went bankrupt. So I start to, normally it's like the self-confidence go down. And I start to think like, is this me? Maybe I'm not an entrepreneur. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I should just get a normal job. But when my father told me that was just like kicking in the energy in me, and I just said to him, sorry, I don't need the money from you. I'll find another way. It's like, I can't promise you that. That's like, but it's like the way he told me, it was like, please get a normal life. Like, stop dreaming, stop thinking about all this thing that you want to do. I also have friends in Norway that are still thinking that everything I'm doing, that I moved to Vietnam, that I did all this thing, that they think like one day he will wake up and think like life is not like this. I had a friend that are totally different than me. He's investing a lot of money and building up a lot of income and having a lot of real estate and all this thing. And for me, that's not the most important thing. It's like, of course, it's good to have investment. But for me, it's like life is about enjoying and life is about to seeing new things in the world and living, because I can have 100 millions in real estate when I'm 100 years and thinking about, wow, that's cool. But what do I need with it when I'm 100 years? Or I can talk about all this crazy stuff I've done, all this thing that I've done in life. And I maybe spend a lot of money on it, but I've lived life. And for me, that's more important. And for many, that's kind of controversial, I think. They're thinking like, you need to start a career, you need to have a house, you need to have a car, you need to have a cabin, there is so many things that the society said to you that this is how it should be. But I don't believe in that, and that doesn't fit me. That's also why I need to move from Norway. Like you said, I felt like I'm a black sheep and I doesn't belong here. You was one of was this the first season of Idol that you...
Yeah, it was the second season, actually, in 2004.
So how did you come up with the idea to apply for that?
To be honest, I didn't have the balls myself to do it, because I got pretty heavily bullied, and that, like we talked about, when people get repeatedly said something negative about you, what happened is you like, it's almost like you just, okay, thank you, adapting that and putting it into your own thoughts. So my self-esteem got pretty low, and I didn't think I would have a chance. But what happened was my mom actually helped me. She replied, because what I did on the first season, and I was 15 years old, 14 or 15 when I watched it, I would sing all the songs that the competitors went, and I would know all the lyrics, and I would sing it, and I would perform it, and just pretend that I was standing on a huge stage. I've been doing that since I was 3 years old. My dad put me on top of my trailer when we were on vacation. Everywhere there was a scene, I would stand up and I would sing. So I guess I was born to do that. But what happened was that my mom actually applied, sent a video or something on me. I don't know. I don't remember. But they called me and wanted me to audition. And I remember when we had house phones with a wire, I would never forget that call. Are you kidding me? Is this happening? And so my whole family traveled to Trondheim, which is like a 5-hour ride, and stayed the night at a hotel. We didn't do stuff like that. So that was pretty huge just for me to audition. And I'm so grateful for that. And what happened is that, I think it was like 8,000 people, and I was one of the top 10.
So if you look back in your life until today, what kind of things have you done in life that are not normal to do that you're really proud of? I know that you have been living in other countries. You have been doing a lot. You have been starting a lot of companies. You have been writing children books. You have an artist. You have online course, and you have done a lot of stuff that maybe someone around 80 never would do when they're finished life.
I am proud of myself for never giving up. And my motto is never give up, never give up. Keep going, keep going, keep going, regardless. Because it's been a pretty hard, tough life too. What I'm most proud of is that I have always chosen not to be a victim. That decision changed my life. And I have dared to try, because I always ask myself this question: what is the worst thing that can happen? So I'm like, okay, I'm moving to LA. That's the capital. That's where the songs are written. When I had no money, I lived on a mattress in the studio for weeks. And then I got to rent from a friend of mine. That's how I started over there. I wanted to pursue my dream. And the worst thing that happened was that I went back to Norway and started working in that kindergarten again. It's a lot of things that I would say I'm proud of. I'm proud that I took a smart choice in partner, that I didn't continue the cycle in attracting bad men into my life. I stopped that generational cycle and got a good husband for myself, where soon to be. And I'm a mother. But I think what defines my whole life is the little choice. I'm not a victim. I'm a fighter. I keep going no matter what. I will never quit. I will never give up. And I refuse to feel sorry for myself.
So if you look at the 5 last years of your life, like where you was for 5 years ago and where you are today, what is different in your life today that it was from 5 years ago?
Oh, wow. That's a huge difference. That's 2 different people. 5 years ago, I had a little baby with colic. I had a birth depression. And right after, my music career went to hell. I've been an artist for 16 years or something. That was the only thing I've been living off. And when COVID came, all of the concerts got taken away. So I had no income. I was depressed. I was miserable. And I had a baby that I couldn't get to stop crying because his tummy hurt. I just felt like, is this how life is supposed to be? I didn't have any money, any confidence or self-esteem. But what I did is look for solutions. So I said, okay, I have some Instagram followers. I see that people are making money out of that. So I contacted someone and asked, hey, I can also recommend stuff on Instagram. Is that a job? And yeah, it was. So I started making money out of that as an influencer and really dived into how to make good content. And I started making content about real things and not what I was wearing or how cool my life looked, but real things as life is hard sometimes. And also I was honest around pregnancy and how it is to become a first-time mom, especially when you have the traumas I had. I got help for this. I had a shrink and I was in the system. Well, now that I had a kid, I always had these dark thoughts. And if it doesn't work out, I can always let go and not live anymore. I had this in the back of my head, like, if it doesn't work out, I'm just gonna leave this planet. But now that I have a son, that was not an option anymore. And I still was in so much pain. I realized that I wasn't the best mother. I wasn't the best girlfriend. I wasn't the best friend. I didn't know how to handle life at all at this point. So I'm like, okay, what are people doing? That's the question I ask myself. What are people doing that is in my position? What are people doing that has the same upbringing as I am, that has the same trauma as I am, because people have survived it. Shrinks have told me that it's weird that you're not an alcoholic, dead, or drug addict, because people with your type of life or trauma, that's the way they go. But I asked myself the opposite question. What are they doing? And I started studying that. What did Oprah do? What did Tony Robbins do? He had a tough period in his life. And I started taking courses and classes and just studying mental health. It changed my life in just a couple of weeks, because I always thought that people and shrinks and coaches are gonna fix me. This is the moment. Around 5 years ago, I realized that I have to fix myself. And there's not an exit anymore, because I have a child. I'm not gonna leave him. Never. I'm gonna be strong for him. When I started implementing these things in my life, like a morning routine, I started eating better. I started exercising, not because I had to look a certain way, but because I realized I started studying the mind, the body, how feelings work, what are habits, what is stress, and what is HRV, why am I, and how am I, and how do I work, and how could I make it better? And when I decided with that and totally changed my life, I got this question because they had, my shrink said she'd never seen this. I was healthy in just a couple of weeks, and she hasn't seen a transformation like that since she could remember. So she asked me, do you want to work here as an experience consultant? And I'm like, what, is that a job? Yes, we would like to, because I could walk into different rooms where they have these and these and these and these challenges, and I already had it, and I came through. I survived it, or I got to the other side. Like they have in AA, when they have like a sponsor. This is the same, just in mental health. She said, yeah, you can work here from 8 o'clock to 4, and it's a real job. And then I realized if I'm going to do that, it will be hard for me to do music. And that is also a passion of mine. I have two passions. The one thing is to help people who've been in the same situation as me, and the other is music. So I decided to not do that, but I was so inspired that this was actually a real job that I started just spreading the word and information on Instagram. And then I came over online courses, that this was a thing, master classes in the States. And I took some courses on how to build and set up a business on online course. And I just made this template. I don't know what the right words are, step by step on how I got out of all of this, out of the outburn, the low self-esteem, the victim mentality. Yeah, I'm saying that I'm proud that I haven't been in it, but some places in life, I have to admit I have. And that mental training, these tools changed my life, and that I realized that I can do this myself. So if it works for me, it has to work for other people. So that's when I started that. And my life changed completely. I became an online business entrepreneur as well.
I want to come back to that, but I have a question about habits, because I think in the society today, there's like, I feel it's like a black and white line between what is habits and when do you have too many habits in life and when do you live your life. And I'm a big fan of habits because I think it drives me in the right direction. But how do you balance it? How do habits become something that are just and other things to do, so you feel like there is more things to do in daily life? And which kind of habits do you implement in your life that are really a benefit for you?
What's great about habits, it's become a part of your lifestyle. If you do them long enough, like I have this morning routine that is just a part of how I wake up, how I get out of bed, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out. And then I have a gratefulness routine, like inspired by priming by Tony Robbins, that I do, and it primes my head and it makes my state good. And then I eat healthier because I know that my brain doesn't work as good if I don't eat the foods that are good for me. And I work out a couple of times a week, and it's just a part of my life. So that's when I don't think about them as habits anymore. And the bad habits that I had, like overeating, eating when I couldn't understand my feelings, and now I'm feeling them instead, the healthy way. And the habits of me now resting, that's a new thing I've been interpolated into my life. I'm following my watch and see when I've been stressed, and now I know that I have to go into the parasympathetic to resting mode. And that has made me not have migraine. So I don't think about it as habits anymore because it's just a part of my life and things I do to be at my best, to have more energy, to sleep better, to be able to be there for my clients, and also have energy when I'm supposed to be on stage. But we are so alike, you and me. It's crazy. I feel like I'm just the woman version of you in some areas. We tried out the 75 hard together. We're supposed to work out 2 times a day, not eat sugar. That was my thing. No. But habits like that was too extreme, because what I did, I have chronic migraine, and what I did, I worked out though I had migraine day after day after day, and that was not good for me. So you have to find that balance. But when it's a part of your brain, when neuroplasticity has reprogrammed your brain, it's a part of you. You don't think about it as habits anymore.
I agree. And I started to do this 2-3 years ago. I did the 75 hard for the first time. Before I moved to Vietnam, I was not working out so much. I hated doing workout session, and it was not me. But step by step, I start to. So right now, I'm working out almost, I would say, in average, maybe 1.5 time per day. That's just like a habit now, and it feels good. And that's why I ask you, because people are coming to me and like, oh, why are you doing this? You're putting so much pressure on yourself. But I'm not. I just feel like if I'm going to achieve what I want in life and achieve as an entrepreneur, and also I need to stay healthy. I start to think about, I start to be older. I'm not thinking that I'm old, but I also think I need to take more care of my body to reach my target. I don't want to be on a place where I need to sit down and not do anything when I'm 80. I want to be healthy. I want to live life. I want to travel. I want to do all these things. So a lot of the things that I'm doing for myself is like thinking about where do I want when I'm 80. And I look at people today that are 80. Someone I get so inspired by, and someone I say like, oh my God, I don't want to look like that when I'm 80. So it's also about thinking where you want to go in life. And that's kind of my motivation and inspiration. And I also decided for myself, I think it's 5 years ago, that every year from now until I die, I will do something that I feel is uncomfortable. Something that I've never done before. And that's something I always have. I look at the calendar each or look at what can I do this year that I'm scared of, that I'm not comfortable with, or something I've never done. Because I think keeping myself young and keeping myself in this, not be comfortable in the comfort zone I am in, I need to challenge myself. I always need to do it. Even if I feel so, I'm doing things that I, for 5 years ago, say like, I never do that. I hate it.
What is that? Can you give us some examples?
Oh, I will do an example of what I'm going to do this winter because I'm going to Japan. Maria's youngest son, he's really good in sports, much better than I've ever been. So we did a bet with him that I will jump from a 15-meter cliff on skis this winter. And I never done it. So that's I don't know if I will do it either, but that's what I'm looking for this winter. I will train myself and I'll go up there and try to jump higher and higher and higher and see if I can find a cliff where I can jump for, because even when I was 18, that was too scary for me to do. But I'm going to see.
And the more proof you give your brain that uncomfortable is okay, we survive after the uncomfortable, it would be easier to try out things like that. My brain goes totally alarm when it comes to negotiations. That's what I'm most scared of, I guess, in my entire life. Negotiations and finances, budgets. So that's my goal for 2024, to be able to stand in those feelings and to have a good control over my finances.
Sometimes I mention you when I have clients, since we're working together. I'm saying like, oh, Sandra is doing so well. And the first thing I hear many times is like, yeah, but she's a celebrity. Everyone knows who she is. And I like, after being with you and start to know you, and I know how much hard work you are putting aside, because I have never been I'm not good at social media at all. It's not my gene. I can't wake up in the morning and think about a picture I should do today or whatever. But when I was in Brazil, I just seeing that you are always on your phone, you are making a new reel, you're doing this, and it's so natural for you. So I start to, when people say to me, oh, it's so easy for her because she had 200,000 followers. And I'm just saying, hey, do you know how much she do to keep these 200,000 followers? And I think that's so much misunderstanding about how to get to a level where you get followers and how do you keep them. So how do you do this thing with social media, and what are you thinking about? Because it looks so natural for you and you don't think about it when you're doing it. Or is it hard for you to keep your social presence on social media?
To be completely honest, sometimes it's a pain in the ass because I'm so consistent and I'm posting every day at the same time. And I want the content to be inspiring, to be good, to get emotion out of people. And lately, I'm also putting in a little bit where I'm sharing who I am as a business person as well. And sometimes I think it's very hard to be creative, and I want to be inspiring. It's a lot of work. It's a couple of hours a day on social media. That's because I answer all the DMs, and I have 2 broadcast channels. I'm recommending that immediately. It's like an email list. Make a broadcast channel in Instagram. But I also have TikTok and Snap and YouTube. Earlier, I vlogged on YouTube and cut the videos myself. But it is to put in the work. That's what I'm saying. If these followers hasn't gotten light to me, if I haven't put in the work consistently and the time, like now, one of my teammates is here living with me for 2 days. And what we're doing is we are constantly creating content. So yesterday we were driving around. I was in this flower shop where she filmed me. I bought a coffee where she filmed me. We went to the beach where she filmed me. While I'm driving the car, she filmed me where I'm talking. Yesterday when I took my makeup out, we made 3 reels about where we were talking while I'm taking my makeup out. I'm constantly creating. And now these 2 days we are making content for 6 weeks. Every day, and sometimes two times a day. And what we did, like yesterday, I was up until 1 o'clock. We started last morning, and 1 o'clock in the night, I was working on cutting, finding the right tune, find the inspiring lyric captions. yeah, I'm really putting in the work, and that's why I have followers. And I do that every day, though sometimes I'm tired. November has been the month that I have posted the least. Sometimes it's been 3 days between posting. And that was just because I've been sick, moving, and also it's been a weird place in social media during the conflict in Gaza. And I think that it's a hard place to be sometimes. You have to deal with a lot of critique and hatred too. So I love it because it's a great way to communicate. When I started, it was my musician fans. That's what I wanted to get to know them and me, and they get to know me. But now it's a way that I can help people for free with the tip that has worked in my life, but also it's a great way to reach out organically. So you don't have to put in. Maybe if I hadn't had put in that work, I had to spend way more money on ads later for a launch.
I have been doing some things on social media, and I'm better when I'm traveling. I live on a beach in Vietnam, but for me, I just see it like, oh, this is my daily life. So I forget that this is special for others. But when I'm traveling, I can be inspired by myself. So then I can post something and do it. And I want to be better on it, but I'm trying to find someone who can just follow me. I want to find out someone who can just do everything for me, but I not find it yet.
Can I come with some tip on social media, what platforms I use and what I do in case someone gets anything out of it? So I use Splice to cut videos. I use Canva to get stock photos and stock videos that I put in my own. I use captions to get the captions right. Yeah, and I have Plan where I can plan them, and Plan can also post for you.
Yeah, I think I need to buy a course from you on social media.
I should make a social media course.
The reason also we have this podcast is because the listeners are basically info entrepreneurs, they're coaches, consultants, or someone who are selling the knowledge online. And the reason I started online business was that I had a dream to live in another country and have freedom to work for whatever place I want. And I just wonder, how has your life changed, and what is the most changes for you after you started online business and selling your stuff online? What are you doing today that you couldn't do before, and how has that impacted your life?
I always had a job where I traveled and was free, so that hasn't changed. But at the same time, the way I earned my money was that I had to go a place, sing, and then I got my salary. Now I can make money from my bed if I want to. The biggest change is that I'm able to build my own home, which I'm now sitting in. I've been living here for 3 weeks. That is huge. I have my own beautiful office here. I love that. And also it has given my life so much joy and happiness. The best way to become happy quick is to help others. And I get to do that every day. And I get to hear the changes people are having because what I'm teaching them, and that stems from me having a hard life. And I'm so happy and grateful that I could use my struggles to something good.
So thank you so much. And I know that you are super busy. So I'm really grateful that you could do this podcast.
It's an honor that you asked me. Thank you so much. I love that you are doing this podcast. It's a podcast that the world needs.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode.
To dig deeper, visit awesome.com/scaling life. That's awesm.com/scaling life. You'll find show notes, resources, and links mentioned in this episode, as well as links to our socials.
If you like what you heard, please rate and review us on the podcast platform of your choice. Your feedback is so important to help more entrepreneurs to discover this show.
Our goal is to provide inspiration, and we hope you'll continue scaling alongside us. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.